Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining today. My name is Jenna Sperry, and I'll be hosting today's conference since Megan and Brianna, DNPA's new Farm to School coordinator, are in Boston at a national state agency meeting for Farm to School. In today's webinar, we'll explore how Indiana schools are actually implementing agriculture and nutrition education in school gardens from two presenters who work in Indiana schools. First up, we'll have Alyssa Jackson, who's a 2017 graduate of Purdue University. I'm getting an echo. Okay, I think we're good. A 2017 graduate of Purdue University who is going into year 6 of teaching elementary wellness and coaching high school cross country and track and field at Zionsville Community Schools. She's an outdoor enthusiast, runner, and loves cooking with fresh foods. She is the recent recipient of the Indiana Society for Health and Physical Educators Young Professional Award, as well as the winner of the Midwest Society for Health and Physical Education Young Professional Award. 3 years ago, her elementary school started a garden with the goal to have student ownership guide the garden's future. The garden helped to spark a camping and campfire cooking unit where students were able to taste watermelon, strawberries, and melon, as well as cook bell peppers, broccoli, zucchini, and squash over the campfire, along with the hot dog and s'more, of course. While her garden didn't produce enough veggies for the students at the cookout, her school was able to partner with her cafe to follow the USDA Balanced Lunch Plan and provide these foods for all students through the free lunch program. Also, who we have today is Gina Dundon, Fort Wayne Community Schools Wellness Coordinator. And she's been a registered nurse for 16 years, and she's been working at Fort Wayne Community Schools for the last 8 years. The first 2 years were spent working as the school nurse for elementary, middle, and high schools, and then Gina took the position of the wellness coordinator in the fall of 2015. Gina's job includes employee and student wellness, and one of her passions is to bring experiences and hands-on learning to students who might not have the chance otherwise. The project she has been dedicated to is having a tower garden in all 50 Fort Wayne school buildings. Tower gardens give students a chance to plant, tend to, harvest, and even taste different fruits and vegetables. Gina also holds a Bachelor of Science in Nursing and a Master's in Healthcare Administration, both from the University of St. Francis. So first I'm going to hand it off to Alyssa, and then we'll hear from Gina.
Awesome. All right, thank you. So I have up here, everyone can see, I hope, elementary garden and sustainability. I'm just going to kind of go through the different things that our garden has evolved into. As you heard before, I'm Melissa Jackson. I teach elementary wellness and I coach 2 high school sports. I'm passionate about finding a lifelong love of movement and wellness and just enjoying quality of life. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the program is that we have here, how it came to be, and what we've done with it, and then talk a little bit about the challenges and the successes that we've had through it, and then leave a little bit of time for questions. So our elementary wellness garden program, it started off with some interest from families, and we were able to help maintain it with a lot of effort from students, staff, and then our community members as well. So it's become a lot of a community garden as it's evolved. Here at my school, we have a Wellness 360 program, and it focuses on 5 dimensions of wellness: social, emotional, physical, intellectual, nutritional, and environmental. So it's really great that we not only, as a PE program, focus on the physical, but we really round out the whole child and the dimensions of wellness. During wellness class, students have the opportunity to take ownership over our garden space, and they contribute to the garden space in many ways. Not only did they have a hand in planting the plants that we're going to be put into this space, but they also got to learn about how foods get their fuel and why weeding the gardens is important, how we need to take care of it, and winterizing it and getting it ready for spring and all that. So they really were able to take some ownership over the space that we have here. More learning opportunities really started to blossom as we got our feet on the ground with what this space could be. And we've even been able to integrate it into lots of other lessons. We have a outdoor adventure and campfire cooking unit where students have gotten to use the produce that we had in our garden and roast it over a campfire. This was really made possible by partnering with our cafe manager and getting them to order the same produce that we have in the garden space to be able to feed the masses of our building. But it reflected what we were able to do out here as well. And then we also have an awesome opportunity to partner with in Indiana Dairy, and we're getting smoothie bikes. And so this winter we'll be able to have the kids think about the produce we had in our garden space and be able to be active and move and also blend up a nutritious snack. So classes are able to also use our garden space. So not only is it exclusive for use for wellness, but a lot of our other classroom teachers are able to come into the space and use it as well. In this slide, you'll see kind of the progression of how it came to be. I know it's kind of small, but starting on the left, we thought about food as fuel, and student questions started growing. And then we started thinking about how our body turns that food energy into movement, and where does our food come from? And it kind of took off from there. This bulletin board is just the process that led us last spring, at least, from getting the garden started up until how are we going to care for it for the summer. And the students created the community list that was out in our space to help anyone who came to the garden space know how to care for it and how to just be in that space respectfully. So as I mentioned, this began as sort of classroom projects and community interest. The kindergarten classes in my building were wanting to do pumpkin seed projects. And then as that got off the ground and they started working with pumpkins, we realized that this space was really wonderful and we could really turn it into something great. And so as parents became more involved and interested, we were able to have some community outreach and have parent funding, and we were really able to turn that space into an actual garden that we could use to plant things in. The picture with the kids with the most smiley faces over them is actually kind of special. Though that grade level actually was the first group that started the pumpkin idea, and we were unable to actually produce pumpkins for the first several years. And now this group is 4th grade, and that is the first pumpkin that our garden has ever produced. And so they got to kind of see their efforts and their inspiration come full circle and actually get to see the produce and their hard work. So students take ownership over our garden space. We sit down and we have time for them to talk and just throw out ideas of what do you want to eat, what fuels your body. And so we made a big list of different things that they wanted to see. And of course, ultimately, we got this produce via donation. And so ultimately, the things that were being donated were what we were able to accept, but it made the students feel like they had a voice, they had a say, and that they were able to contribute the ideas to what was being planted in our garden spaces. As things started to move forward, we had family garden nights, and there was a big garden prep night where not only did students get to bring their parents and show them what they knew about our garden learning and how we plant foods and take care of garden spaces, but the parents also got to take part of being a part of the garden and planting those plants. We had a big push for planning for sustainability. We sort of made that our macro concept for our school year for wellness. And we wanted to think how is wellness sustainable? How do we do that in all the different dimensions? And specifically with our nutrition and gardening and even recreational activities, we were able to accomplish that and create a plan and student learning objectives for how to get those sustainable ideas across and keep it going. The picture on the lower right side has our sustainability outline and just the different things that we were able to partner with it and connect our learning to as we progress through. And above that, you'll see that when students take the ownership over the space, they were able to really connect with things that were growing and describe how to care for those spaces, just as a part of, owning the space and being able to make it more sustainable. If you don't have the buy-in from your students and they don't see the value and the connection to how it applies to other things, then they're not gonna really be able to help maintain it, and it'll flop. So we're really lucky that they've felt the ownership over this space as we've continued to learn from and grow with it. We did set these norms from the get-go. Food is fuel is a big part of our Wellness 360 program. We don't like to think of good foods and bad foods. You need to fuel your body with foods that it can move and grow and do things. So as we got the garden going and it started producing, we were able to integrate the produce into other lessons. Right now we're rounding out a training unit for our jogathon event that's coming up. And not only do athletes and people who are getting ready for races need to train and get ready and warm up, but they also have to think about how they fuel their bodies. And so we would end each of our lessons as we are gearing up for that event, visiting this garden space and allowing them to pick the produce to take it home, and encouraging that message of we want to make sure that we use this produce. We don't want to put it to waste, and bring it home to your families and what can you create from it. And I've had a couple of emails from parents of the pictures of oh, so-and-so brought home this kale today and they made a salad out of it. This was so great. Thanks for, letting them bring this stuff home. So not only is the garden for looks, but you've got to get it in the hands of your students so that they can take it home and interact with it with their families as well. We celebrate being able to integrate the food into our lessons, because food is just a big part of living. I mean, you have to have that fuel in order to survive. And so we connect it to our learning in lots of different ways, just like our camping and outdoor cooking unit. We used campfires, and we actually were able to roast and toast our produce that we had a hand in maintaining over a campfire and consume it, because I think it's really valuable for the kids to not only see and plant the plants, but to know how it benefits them and how they can use it in real life. We have created multiple units that connect with us being able to use this garden space, and it's just been really fun having it as a resource and a tool to just coincide with our learning. Different successes that we saw was being able to integrate the real food into total wellness education. We celebrate the foods and how they fuel us, and having it in their hand, really allows them to connect with it and own the fact that it relates to a lot of the things they do in life. This created a space for community. Our families are allowed to come to our garden space during the summer after school, and it's open for them to pick and take home. So I've had lots of students come to me and say, oh, my mom and I went to the garden this weekend and we were able to bring home some basil and we made some pesto. It was really great. And it's just a fun thing to have for the community to also take ownership of as well. It's exposure to new and non-traditional learning experiences and still connecting it to our national standards for health and wellness, which is really exciting. I definitely think that these non-traditional experiences are things that students will grasp onto and really be able to take with them throughout life. So it's exciting to have those things. Some struggles that we did come across, and I'll mention some solutions that we kind of band-aided, I guess, so to speak, to make them work for us. Over the first few years when we were getting the garden going, summer care did become a little bit of a struggle. Just because, we have busy summers and aren't always here, but we started to create a community list, and families would sign up to water the garden and take care of it over the summer and be able to take some of the produce so that there wasn't overgrowth or too many animals getting into it and having them decay too much. So we do rotate through and offer this opportunity for our community to come and help take care of the space during the summer, which sometimes is hit and miss. Sometimes people miss their dates, but for the most part, we've been able to, have people involved enough and care for that space while we're not here. I also the water schedule during the school year, especially. Teachers are busy with their classes and there's not always someone that's going to be able to come out here, water it in the morning. So I created it as a part of the routines for our warm-up. So I'm lucky that I have my wellness classroom right outside of the garden space. And so I would have 5 students from a class come out here. They knew how to work the water key. They knew where to set the sprinkler, and they would turn on the sprinkler at the beginning of class. And before they left, they knew it was their job to turn it off. And so it really became just an integrated part of how things functioned during a normal school day as well. Pest. We did have some issues with pest, more so this year than we have in years past. We use a lot of natural plants that deter other animals and pests, but for some reason this year the squirrels really got to us. We have a plan in place to help prevent them from getting to all of our melons and pumpkins and gourds next year, but we did take a loss on being able to, cut open those watermelons and eat those melons with the students in class time, just because we weren't on top of the pest piece. Sustainability, I kind of touched on as we've gone through the presentation. It really comes back to having everyone take a piece of this and feel ownership over it, and integrating it into what you do in your classroom, finding those connection pieces and pulling it in just to, really make those connections. One of the bigger things that we're still struggling with is the composting. Back in the back of the garden, the composting is settled back in some bins there. We haven't quite perfected our composting. That's something we're still working through, but it does exist. The students see it. They know if, some produce has been gotten to by some bugs and is decaying, that they know where to put it. And I think that's probably the first step in getting that composting piece as a functioning part of our garden. And we'll hopefully get there to a point where we can actually use that compost as a part of our soil when we restart the garden again in the spring. We did have some plant placement struggles as we started the garden. We put, the strawberries and the melons in one place, and then they weren't getting enough sun. And so as we replanted each year, we were able to better analyze what plants would grow best where, and kind of rotate some of those crops as we learned and grew through the past 3 years of getting the garden going. That is sort of the overview of everything, or most of the things we do with our garden space. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. But thank you for your time, and I hope that you found some inspiration from this.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to type them in the chat or unmute yourselves. All right, not seeing or hearing any, so we will move on to Gina, and then we can also have questions at the end if anyone thinks of any.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Hello, are we good, Jenna? Can you see that?
Yep, you're all set.
Awesome. So as Jenna said, my name is Gina Dundon, and I am one of the nurses with Fort Wayne Community Schools. So I have been with the district just short of 10 years. We are the largest school district in Indiana. We do serve about 30,000, 4,000 employees. So that we are obviously very big. And then for our school-wise, we have lots of different schools. So we have the 2 early childhood learning centers with 30 different elementary schools, 11 middle schools, 5 high schools, and of course we have a career academy. And on top of that, we have students from 70 different countries that speak 70 different languages. So it is a big task for Fort Wayne Community Schools to undertake pretty much anything. We do a lot of piloting or a lot of pick a school. and see how it goes. So we do a lot of that within our district. I started this position because we became a department. In 2015, they saw the need to take health and wellness and make it actually a department. So we have a director, we have 35, 40 nurses now, we have 16 health aides, we have this giant department, but we also need somebody that will run student and staff wellness. So they came up with the wellness coordinator position. And some of the things I do, research development, support and implement new projects and different ideas for FWCS. So a district our size, funding is always an issue. So one of the things that I have become better at is grants and grant writing and then community involvement within our district. So one of our many problems is 70% of our students are free and reduced, and about 1/3 of our students live in a food desert. So with us having so many food deserts, we have that limited access to affordable and nutritious foods. That becomes a problem when you're trying to get children to understand what they're eating, how they're eating it, what's good for them, and what's not good for them. We have a lot of, obviously, inner city students. It's not easy to run to a grocery store because there isn't one in their area. So they're going to convenience stores. They're looking at their parents and what their parents are buying, and then those just aren't, our healthy ways. A lot of kids don't understand what it means to grow or to harvest produce. So we wanted to find a way that we could do hands-on growing. It has been a big problem for our area to even get kids to understand how apples are grown or fruits are grown or vegetables. So being inner city, outdoor spaces are obviously limited. We do obviously have playgrounds and grassy areas, but if you're taking grassy areas away, then you're taking areas away from gym class or kickball or those kind of things. Of course, we're Northern Indiana, so growing seasons for outdoor is very limited. We know the pressures of school and academics and the focus on, literacy and numeracy. We need to find something that we can incorporate different positions in. We want it to obviously be education-based. We want them to have a fun and engaging time. And we want to make sure that it is useful so that the teachers want to participate and not feel like it's one more thing that they have to do on top of the many other tasks that they have to do. So I did a lot of research. I am very good, and I sit on the Northeast Indiana Farm to School. We have great resources in our area for this. So we were able to talk with them, listen in on a lot of their conversations. We like to bring in Harvest of the Month for some of our schools, virtual field trips, those kind of things where students can see what the farm looks like, hear the farmer, what is a farmer, because a lot of them cannot get there. So we have been working with them to bring some these ways into our buildings, into our kids, and into their minds. We're lucky to have a Parkview greenhouse in town where they do a lot of hydroponics, fruits and vegetables. I was able to tour with them. I'm able to talk with their staff. Their in-house farmer has lots and lots of rows of hydroponics. The picture there is part of the greenhouse. So they have tower gardens and then they have the rows on the walls. So talking with them, how easy is a tower garden? Is it feasible to have them in schools? What kind of time commitment are we looking with? So I did a lot of research with her on those pieces. And then Warsaw Community Schools has a tower garden in each one of their buildings. So when I first started this back in 2016, I actually went over there and spoke with their nurse and asked them, how did you do this? How did you find the right people? Was it easy? What did the kids think? Because I didn't want to jump into something for a district our size until I knew exactly what we wanted to do. Because it is hard to find those people who want to do something outside the box that have the time to do it as well. So Warsaw had all 13 buildings, and I thought, if they can do 13, I'll find a way to do 50. So I was able to work with them in how to determine to do that. So with Tower Gardens, if you're not familiar with them, there's no season for them. They're indoor. They literally look like a tower. There's minimal mess because there's no soil involved. There's no making sure that we are on planting season and harvesting season. They grow quickly. They're portable. They're on wheels, which is very nice. They do fit within doorways, so they can transport them from like room to room, classroom to classroom, area to area. You can grow more in less time. So you can grow typically in about a month to 2 months what you would need to spend all summer growing. They are so hands-on. Kids from all levels can do this. So you can have a preschool student put it in there and take care of it and put water in the tubes, and it's so much fun for them. They love being able to have this experience and have this time with their Tower Gardens. Very engaging. And we were able to find some curriculum-based lesson plans. The person who started Tower Gardens in schools has them. There's free ones out there. Our teachers can use them. They can just take from them what they want. But everything is so numeracy and literacy that it definitely makes a difference if you can incorporate it into those classrooms as well. So with that, you know, they're calculating pH, they're doing science experiments, they're watching them grow, they're taking them from seedlings. So there's lots of ways that they can get those extra pieces involved with their Tower Garden, which really makes it educational and fun for the students. Some of our challenges, of course, the pandemic. We started this in 2019, and we all know what happened in March of 2020. So our supply chains have been on back order, which made it extremely difficult for Tower Garden to get us the processes and the orders. And I was making sure that when I would order them, can I get everything? Well, grow lights were 3 to 6 months on back order. So that became a big problem. I have a Tower Garden, but I can't put it outside. It's winter. So we had a struggle in the beginning when everything shut down. The next problem was principals. Well, that sounds great, but who's going to take care of it? Well, that sounds great, but what do you mean you want multiple classrooms to take care of this? So I had to do a lot of education with our principals and with our administrative team on what they are, how they're beneficial, what we can do with them. Of course, I had to talk to our M&O guide about pest controls and facilities because it has to be plugged in, and you know, we're all trying to save money because we don't want to be wasteful of community resources and dollars. And so getting the people in the district on board became a little bit of a challenge, but once they understood what they were all for it. They absolutely wanted to be a part of it. They want to know what's going on and how do we do more. And then of course, finding that right teacher. Not everybody wants an extra piece. For our elementaries, it's great because some of the younger kids want it and some of the older kids want it. So it just depends on those teachers. And then we have ones where they all want a part of it, which is really great to see because the administration behind it wants to show them this is how we can all get on it. So with our Tower Gardens, finding those right people to really take a hold of it has been fun to see. Some of our successes. So one of our very first Tower Gardens was to Miami Middle School. It is on our south side of town. And the teacher there wanted to grow the ingredients for pesto. So kids looked it up, they planted it. When they harvested, they made the pesto. He brought in, crackers and different things, and they had a blast. It even got some local media coverage on the Tower Gardens and how we can benefit from them. When that hit, I had all the schools calling. When can I get a Tower Garden? When's my Tower Garden? So it was fun to see those pieces of it. Franke Park, one of our elementary schools, one of our inner cities, they are all hands. So what that means is their kindergarten and first graders take the seedlings and put them in the rock wool, and they start it. They pot it and they start it. And then it moves to second and third grade. And then the second and third grade classrooms take care of it for a week or so. And they're watching the hydroponics and watching the water and the pH levels. And then our third and fourth graders, so when it's almost ready to be harvested, they get to harvest it. So then they get to, as a group, say, this is what we've made, and then they get to try it. So, and there's plenty to go around. So all grade levels get to try it, which is really nice because it is kind of a little harvest for them and a little taste testing on things that they might not know or understand are in an ingredient or in a certain recipe, and this is healthy for you, and you grow your own food. So they have really had a lot of fun doing this. And then having all hands on deck for it. Our Snyder High School biomed students actually did a hydroponic growing versus soil growing experiment with lettuce. So they last spring planted both. And then after a couple months, they were able to watch the growing of it. So Tower Gardens obviously grow quickly. The lettuce is bigger. And it's equally as healthy as soil. So really they were studying how these Tower Gardens could work to make things quicker and easier. So they really liked having that ability to get more from those Tower Gardens. So they've had a lot of successes. Some of the things that we have looked at for the future, because we are so big, I did start with our middle schools, and I was able to purchase those. All of these have been purchased through grants and donations. They have not been an expense on the schools to get the actual equipment and to start growing them, which has been a huge blessing. I've gotten about 4 to 5 different grants to actually cover these, and then we've had some donated from some community partners as well. So all of our middle schools ended up with one, then our high schools ended up with one. And now all of our elementary schools by January will have one. So I have been able to purchase 50 Tower Gardens, one for each one of our buildings. And then I've also been able to purchase an extra Tower Garden for each one of our high schools. So they will end up with 2. Some buildings have found money or a community partner to donate another Tower Garden to them. Just because they have had so much success with the first one, they want to be able to offer more to their kids. So it's been a lot of fun watching this project take off. It was a dream that I had when like I said, when I started in 2016, I was able to start the process in 2019, and here in 2022, we will have all of our buildings. So we've had a very big success with this in the fact that all of our schools want one. I get calls from principals all the time. Have you started ordering those yet? We'd like to have ours first. So it's been interesting, but when I'm purchasing my last 31, so I have to do it in steps. But with the Tower Gardens, these are from different schools. So the one on the left is like the very beginning. So they had already put the rock wall in. They have a little bit of bud growing on. As you can see, the cage, it is an amazing way that they can watch it grow from just these tiny little seeds, and it's quick. So it doesn't lose student interest, which is also another good thing. The one on the right is from Shawnee Middle School. They are growing some basil currently and some lettuce in their science department. And then they actually will give it to the nutrition services in their building, and they're all going to have it for lunch. So if it's lettuce, it's going to be for a salad or on their hamburger or whatever it is. So they are working with their nutrition service people to serve it at lunch. The one on the left is from Northwood Middle School, and that was the end of last year's. So this was after weeks of watching it and planting it. And then the one on the right is from another one of our high schools. So it's been to be able to see these go, and I would strongly suggest, if you could get into anything or if you have any questions or those kind of things, I would love to talk to more people about getting them.
Excellent. Thank you, Gina. I will open it up to questions. As before, feel free to type in the chat or unmute. Okay, if there are no questions, then I think we can go ahead and give everyone some time back on their day. I want to thank Gina and Alyssa again for coming and sharing their time and experiences in today's webinar. And thank you to everyone who signed on to listen. Have a great rest of your day. Oh, it looks like there is a question. Do you know the main impetus for turning the wellness services into an official department?
It was a long process. So we used a lot of our data and research. So what we do with our kids and how we see our kids and what we're doing. My boss had been working with that for a while, but I would say for us, data was the biggest thing. We used to fall under student services. So now we have kind of gotten off of student services, and obviously we are our own department with our own director. So that was a lot of internal discussions and a lot of internal finding the pathway to get that done. But I will say that it has really helped the district see the nurses not just as a school nurse, as more. We can educate, we can help, we can run a wellness committee, we can do so much more than just take care of the kids. So a lot of that conversation started before I got my position. But if you ever have any questions, I'm sure Mary Hess would be more than willing to talk with you. So what kind of data? So we used our charting to say this is what we're doing and this is what we could do. We went to a lot of different conferences. We worked with, we do a lot with Jolene Barkell down at the state. So we've looked at how the nurses were charting and what we were seeing and what we need to do in order to bring more benefits into the classrooms and into the schools. You're welcome.
Can I ask a silly question? Like, does anybody like use the towel garden to the house, like use the technique, but rather than for school, use it for the house?
Oh yeah, you can definitely use them for your house. My husband wants one so bad. I mean, you don't have to buy the Tower Garden brand. It's the easiest one to work with for schools. They have them on Amazon. They have lots of different brands, but people who use them at home love them. And I know that we have some of the girls that I work with have them at home, and they're able to grow what they want. I mean, you can grow strawberries on them. You can grow your own lettuce. There's so many different things that you can grow on a Tower Garden.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions before we sign off?
Thank you guys for your time. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me at Fort Wayne Community Schools as well.
Thanks, Gina. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Thanks.